close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport Podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. On this week's show we're going to chat to Cill Martra boxer Christina Desmond as she gears up for the Olympic Qualifiers, which kick off at the Copper Box Arena in London on Friday.
We'll also hear from Cork dual star Libby Coppinger after a motion calling for official recognition and support of the dual player concept was defeated at the LGFA Annual Congress over the weekend.
But we're going to start with the story that has been completely dominating front and back pages across the world over the last few months, and that is of course the coronavirus. Neither of us know anything about the spread of disease or the effect it could have on the respiratory systems of the people of Ireland, but we just wanted to take a look at how it's been affecting some of the top West Cork athletes at pivotal times for them in their careers. So Kieran, rugby has obviously been a big casualty of the coronavirus, but how does it affect the West Cork involvement?
I suppose on the Munster setup over the last couple of weeks we've seen Darren Sweetenham, Fineen Wycherley, Gavin Coombs and John Hodnett. They've all impressed for Munster in the Pro 14, especially in the wins against the Sutherland Kings, where Ross Scarberry's John Hodnett was man of the match, and then Skibbereen's Gavin Coombs got 2 tries against Scarlets. But Munster's Pro 14 fixture against Benetton Treviso was scheduled for March 21st, but that has been postponed because of the outbreak of the coronavirus in Italy. I suppose also looking at the rugby scene, Inishannon's Jack Crowley and Clonakilty's Cian Hurley are both on the Ireland under-20 team that's in the under-26 nations, and Ireland's game against Italy was postponed the weekend just gone. And while the senior game between Ireland and France is gone for this weekend, as far as I know there's no news yet on the Ireland and France under-20 game, but you would think that it would probably go as well, but as yet we've no official I
suppose one thing about the under-20s is you could play that behind closed doors without having any major issues, but having a full international behind closed doors doesn't seem like an option because it wouldn't pay for itself. So
that's something for people, I suppose, people just to keep an eye on news and Twitter and social media, just for that Ireland and France under-26 nations game that would be on this Friday night. But I suppose it's a kind of the coronavirus, Jack. It's evolving the whole time, and I suppose sport is just another kind of part of this. Like, kind of, it's changing all the time, and even with the soccer game, I suppose Conor Horan is on the Republic of Ireland team that they have their Euro 2020 playoff away to Slovakia in a couple of weeks' time, and the talk that it's going to be played behind closed doors. Kind of that's what it looks like at the moment.
Yeah, well, the FAI have just released a statement in the last hour or so saying that as of right now it's going ahead as planned, so not behind closed doors. But I think it's important to note that they did say watch this space. Again, it's like you're saying with the under-20s, no one really knows anything at this point, which is just the way it is. Like, so we're all learning we're all getting new information at all times,
as it happens,
every day. So especially with the soccer, like if there's anyone out there who's planning on travelling to Slovakia, I would be sure to keep an eye on the Slovakian government's Twitter page or whatever, because they could easily impose a ban on travel in the next fortnight.
The city government in Bratislava, where the game is on, I think starting from Monday, they upped their response to the outbreak, and they were closing the city's tourist attractions, like the zoos were shut, the libraries, public swimming pools, and I think even the ice hockey stadium, which is only 900 metres or 900 feet from the soccer stadium, has been it's behind closed doors, whatever the local Bratislavian hockey team is. I think they have a game coming up this weekend, but it's behind closed doors, and that's within touching distance of the soccer stadium. So again, we don't know what's going to happen, so it's just interesting. With Conor Horan will be on that Ireland team, and I suppose
as it stands, though, Premier League games are to go ahead as planned as well. So obviously his Aston Villa games as of right now aren't affected, but if you're listening to this podcast on Friday afternoon, this could all be old news. So we're just trying to bring the most up-to-date information surrounding West Cork sport that we have at this particular time.
And as it stands, the West Cork Rally, part of the British Rally Championship, is due to be held in Clonakilty this weekend, and that is going ahead as scheduled. It's a huge event, massive entry, really big entry in Clonakilty weekend, so that is still going ahead. Obviously the Olympics are a huge sporting event this year, Jack, and in Tokyo in the summer, and obviously Tokyo is very close to, I suppose, where the coronavirus kind of originated, kind of in Asia and stuff. So it's the last couple of weeks there's been a bit of chat about the Olympics, what's going to happen. Will they go ahead in the summer? There's a start date in, I think, the 22nd of July. Again, we don't know. What we do know is if the Olympics can be pushed back to later in the year, but they can't go into next year. So if the Olympics aren't held in 2020, they won't be held.
And what does this mean for the Skibbereen rowing contingent then, Kieran?
For the rowers, obviously, we know that Gary and Paul O'Donovan, Fintan McCarthy, Jake McCarthy and Shane Driscoll are all battling to get into the Irish men's lightweight double. That Irish lightweight double is qualified for the Olympics. So as at the moment it's business as usual. The lightweights are down in Seville in Spain at the moment on a training camp ahead of the final, I suppose, Irish trial at the end of March. What is interesting though is that 2 of the 3 World Cup regattas this year are scheduled to be held in Italy. The first one is in a place called, I'm going to butcher this name, Saubudia. It's only less than 100 kilometres south of Rome. That's meant to be held on April 10th to 12th. And the second World Cup regatta is in Varese in northern Italy on Varese on May 1st to 3rd. So the World Rowing Governing Body, FISA, are going to announce on Wednesday kind of an update what's happening there, because those World Cup regattas are very important in terms of getting crews, I suppose testing crews before the Olympic Games, because whatever combination is in that double were due to go to the World Cup. So again, it's an ever-evolving situation. There'll be more news later in the week. But
one athlete who's already been affected by the outbreak of the coronavirus is obviously Phil Healy. The World Indoors that were supposed to be held in China
yeah.
just 6 weeks ago were obviously cancelled because of the outbreak. But where does she stand now? What's her next target, and is it going to be affected?
Again, I suppose for Phil, Phil wants to qualify for her first ever Olympic Games, and it's very much like the rowers at the moment, as of now, the Olympic Games are going ahead in Tokyo in the summer, but that can change. Phil is in a great position to qualify. She's ranked 29th in the world at the moment. It's a top 56 get there, so with the outdoor season to come, you could be almost 99.9% certain that Phil will be going to the Olympics. So it's just touch wood that the Olympics will be held this year, so Phil gets to show what she can do on the world stage. I suppose it's for Martra boxer as well, Christina Desmond, Jack. She's another local lady bidding to get to the Olympics.
Yeah, and we're going to hear from her in a few minutes. We have an in-depth chat coming up, but I did ask her when I spoke to her about the threat of the coronavirus, and they're obviously due to start boxing in London on Friday in the first of the European Olympic Qualifiers, and they already had a training camp cut short because they were training in Italy. They were meant to be there for 3 weeks. They came home after just as a precaution. There was nobody infected, or I don't know if infected is the right word, but regardless. But as it stands for them, it's business as usual. They're all steam ahead for Friday for the Olympic qualifier in London. So again, like a lot of these, it's basically just keep doing what you're doing and hope that nothing changes. But no one can say anything can be really set in stone, because interestingly, like the Cheltenham Festival, which kicks off this week on Tuesday, so this is Tuesday as it stands, and I was just reading on online there that the hospital in Cheltenham has just had its first confirmed case of coronavirus. So the town, which is about to be thronged with thousands and thousands of people, is now a known coronavirus location. So by the time this podcast goes out, the Cheltenham Festival could be cancelled for all I know. But let's just take it back to local level again then. GAA, this is the start of the GAA season essentially. This is where things start to heat up as we move further into spring and closer to summer. So how is it affecting us locally when it comes to football, hurling, camogie and ladies football?
Checked in with the Carberry board, Jack, just to see kind of what they are their position on the coronavirus is, and it's kind of, again, it's business as usual, but they said they are keeping a very, very close eye on all developments. They've urged all the clubs to follow the kind of protocols that are out there, which is wash your hands, good hygiene, even when it comes to drinking from water bottles and so on, to be very, very careful. They said they're very mindful of the public safety. What it does look like is at the next Carberry board meeting, which I think is in 2 weeks' time, It'll probably be behind closed doors, just members of the executive. We probably won't have.
So you're banned, yeah?
I'm kind of banned for a long time now. I'm not left in the door there, but they're just. I think they won't kind of have the clubs attend. They're just very mindful of, I suppose, of the coronavirus and how this could kind of. We just don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of days and weeks. So kind of, but they're saying public safety first. They want to make sure everyone's kind of safe and healthy. So again, just check locally, check in with.
Yeah, we're just on that, at a very local level. I was up in Rylan at their boxing club on Friday evening. We had some members of our club sparring, underage boxers, and at the end of the session, the head of the Rylan Boxing Club, he announced that we're going to close down for 2 weeks because there's no point in risking it. So we'll wait and see. But the reason he had to announce it himself was there had been no indication from the authorities what to do. So at a local level, clubs are just getting on with it because they don't know or they haven't been told any differently. So some of them are taking it into their own hands. But obviously, yeah, keep an eye on southernstar.ie. We'll try our best to keep all the sports fans in West Cork updated as to whether games and events are going ahead.
And just to plug Dennis Hurley's column in this Thursday Southern Star, he asked the question, what will the impact be if the coronavirus will impact, let's say, the club county championships for a second, because April is kind of built as a club-only month and it's the first round of the county championships, and Cork being a dual county and there's so many games and competitions on here, Dennis is kind of asking what will happen to push those games back into later in the year. If it does come to that, again, we don't know. So just an interesting read by Dennis in this Thursday Southern Star.
Thanks for listening to the Star Sport Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things sport in West Cork. Don't forget to pick up this Thursday's Southern Star newspaper, including our award-winning sports section with everything a West Cork sports fan could want. In shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world via www.southernstar.ie/e-paper. The Southern Star and the Star Sport Podcast. Number 1 for sport in West Cork.
2019 was the year that Martra welterweight Christina Desmond announced herself on the scene as one of Ireland's top amateur boxers. Not only did she win 2 national elite titles, she also secured top 8 finishes at both the World and European Championships. On Friday, she heads to London to compete at the Olympic Qualifiers, where she aims to secure a place at Tokyo 2020. Jack, you caught up with her. How's her preparation been?
She's in great form. Obviously, we mentioned earlier in the show, the coronavirus has thrown everything into a bit of disarray. But as it stands, she is ready, willing, and able for the Friday's qualifiers to kick off. I have to say, every time I chat to her for this podcast or for a piece in the paper, I come out buoyed. Like she's an inspiring character. She loves competing in whatever anything she does, whether it's the training, the actual fighting, her work, she's competitive by nature. She has a personality that jumps over the phone. I know you're always slagging me because I come buzzing after chatting to her, but yeah, look, there's no point in me carrying on. Let's hear from Christina herself. I started by asking her how she was and how she was looking forward to Friday's qualifier. Now, we're delighted to be joined on the line by the Irish amateur boxing breakout star of 2019, Kilnamartra's Christina Desmond. Christina, first of all, how are you doing?
Very good now, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. The last time I spoke to you was for a piece in the paper the week before your elite final back in November. It was your second meeting of 2019 in a national final with Grania Walsh, and you once again came out on top. Can you just briefly take us back to that night? The two of you are so well matched, so every time you fight each other, it turns into a near classic. So yeah, if you could just take us back to that night and the emotions after your name was announced the winner.
Yeah, I suppose it was a rematch of the elite final in February. I was very nervous. I had a long year of competition, and at the start I didn't know how I was going to peak for another tournament, and as well in my own country. I suppose it's a lot harder fighting here in Dublin. There's a lot more pressure.
And on night, sorry, go on.
That night was brilliant. I was over the moon, and it being televised as well, it was extra special for my own family and my own crowd at home to watch it.
Absolutely. And on the night when your name was announced as the winner, you held up your index finger to the camera. I of course read that as you saying you now rightly saw yourself as the number one welterweight in the country. Was I reading too much into that, or was there something in that gesture to the camera?
No, I suppose I did it without even knowing, but yeah, that would have been in it. Now I was after proving myself twice, and I was after proving myself at tournaments abroad, and I felt like I wanted to be treated like the number one then, that I wasn't just there for the Mickey Mouse of it. I wanted to be treated seriously, and I suppose I'm after getting that. So I'm happy.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware then, there were 2 elite final nights in 2019 on account of 2020 being an Olympic year. Did you find it frustrating that you actually had to go and win the title twice? Despite winning it earlier in the year, you had to come back and defend. Like most times when you win a championship, you don't have to come back and defend till the following year. Was that frustrating for you?
Yeah, it is frustrating. Now I suppose they've seen the ones in November as the 2020 championships, because they probably won't have them again early till next year. But yeah, it was annoying because you feel you're after doing enough, and I was after proving myself abroad, and I was at my wither's end. I just was like, look, just pick one of us, and I don't care who you pick, just pick it, because I was just, you're annoyed with it and frustrated. I got on very well with the other girl, like, and it was just annoying to see that they were putting a kind of a stance between us. But look, that's what it is at the elite level. But I once I won, I didn't really give a damn. But it was extra training and extra competition I probably didn't need to finish off the year.
And sure, those nights in the National Stadium in front of a packed house on live TV, like, you can't buy experience like that, can you?
No, it is brilliant. I had my own family around, and it was nice to be able to do it again and come out of the ring with my hand after being raised, and to have my own coach as well in my corner. It was just brilliant, and I wasn't after winning it by accident. I had put on a good show and a good performance, and that's all you'd ask for, really.
Christina, now I mentioned at the top that you were the breakout star in Irish amateur boxing in 2019, so I just want to add some context to that claim for our listeners. Back in August at the European Championships in Madrid, you finished in the top 8, losing to the eventual winner in the quarter-final. At the Worlds in September over in Siberia, you beat the Commonwealth gold medalist Sandy Ryan of England in the last 32, before once again finishing in the top 8. These achievements, along with your 2 Irish titles, certainly do stand out. And you mentioned it just a few minutes ago, and you previously spoke about it again, that sometimes you doubted your own abilities on occasion. Do those doubts still linger, and if so, how do you overcome them?
No, they don't still linger. Well, they're always there. Like, I would never see myself as a number one, or I won't be the type of boxer or fighter that everyone looks at normal fighters and think that I'm not like that at all. Like, I just think I'm here and I'm normal, and if I go in, I know I'm strong enough to beat any girl, and once you believe that, that's all you'd want. I suppose at the start of the year, I had been out for a bit because I took on education first. I got my full-time job, and now I'm delighted with the job I have. So I said I'd take a step back into the boxing world and see how I'd get on. I wasn't putting myself under pressure. I didn't see any pressure on me, really, because I was just after coming back after a few months off, or a year nearly off. I was training full time, and to be honest with you, I had only about 2 weeks training before the Europeans and about 10 days before the World. So to go out and get that result in them both tournaments just shows what I'd be like if I was full-time training. So I have been full-time training since December and working the weekends, so it's actually been fairly hectic. I haven't had a day off since Christmas, but hopefully it all will be worth it.
Well, we should probably touch on your career outside of boxing then, just for a second, as you bring it up, because our listeners may not know that last year you finished your Garda training. So along with being an international boxer, you're also a serving member of An Garda Síochána, and you mentioned you haven't had a day off since Christmas. So how have you managed, just simply?
It's not been easy. I'd love just a day at home to do nothing home in Cork. The family are wondering will I ever come home, but no, I love it. I absolutely love it. My station are very good to me. My unit are top class to me. My superintendent Michael Lacey has been top class, and all the other members in Dungarvan Garda Station. So I'm delighted with that, and that kind of is a release and a break from boxing, because everyone else sees that boxing is just the main thing in my life, and I don't find that, like, behind the boxer there's a person, and I love going back to the station, being treated normal and treated as a person rather than a boxer.
And have you enjoyed your first year as a Garda on the beat? Has it been? It's obviously a challenging role, but overall, the job itself, you've enjoyed it in the main.
absolutely loved it. It's different every day. There's always something new, and we meet great people on and off the beat in the station, and I absolutely delighted that I took that chance. It's tough. There's always something, there's always go around the station and all that, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I love it.
We might come back to that in a second, but I just want to quickly go back to your achievements. I know you're probably sick of me listing them out, but I'm going to just briefly do it one more time. As I've listed out, 2-time Irish champion last year and great results in both the Worlds and the Europeans. And on the back of those successes, you've been chosen to box for Ireland in the upcoming Olympic Qualifiers in London, which get underway at the Copper Box Arena on March 14th. Now, even though you've earned your place on the team, you clearly have, boxing can be a funny old game at the best of times. So before the team were announced, were you nervous that they might go with someone else? Because people may not know, it's still a selection process. So even though you'd been the outstanding boxer of the year, it still had to come via selection. So was there any nerves, or were you quietly confident?
Yeah, the other competitor had picked up a slight injury, so that relaxed me a little bit. But I would have been shocked if I wasn't picked, to be honest with you. I put on a good show all year, and I was fit, I was ready, I was able. And if they hadn't picked me, I would have lost all faith in the whole selection process, to be honest. If you can't get picked and you're still winning, there's something wrong. But I suppose there is a little bit of politics involved in all that. But overall, I was delighted when I did get picked eventually. It was a bit of a, it was something that was off your mind, and you knew you all you had to focus on then was the boxing,
And yourself and the rest of the team were recently away on a training camp over in Italy. You were training with some of the top nations in the world. And how did you find training over there? Were you in good form? Was it competitive sparring and training?
Yeah, it was a very good camp, to be fair. We were in the CC. I love the CC. I've trained there before big competitions, and I was delighted to go back there. I sparred against the Italian herself, the girl that I will be coming up against. There were 2 other Italians that I sparred at 69 and 75. I sparred New Zealand, India, all top girls that are all ranked, and it was great sparring for me. It was great to get to know these girls. I'm only after moving down from middleweight to this weight, so I know all the middleweight competitors and how they box, so it was good to get in the light middleweights and see how they punched and see what their strength was like. So overall, it was a great tournament. I was delighted with it.
And now the training camp was cut short as a precaution due to the spread of the coronavirus in Italy. But what's your own understanding in relation to the upcoming Olympic qualifiers in London? As of now, is it business as usual?
As of now, it's business as usual. We haven't heard any different. We're finishing up tomorrow here in Dublin, and we're back on Monday. So as of now, it's all steam ahead for the Olympic qualifier. There has been no change. It's our difference. So it's all steam ahead.
Good stuff. And just with London on the horizon, can you shed any light on the actual qualification process for us, Christina? I was trying to look into this today and I couldn't find a definitive answer. As far as I could see, there are 25 Olympic places up for grabs for women across the 5 weight classes. But what to your mind do you need to do to guarantee yourself a ticket to Tokyo?
I'm not even sure myself, but I think I have to get top 6 in Europe. I'm 5th at the moment, coming out of the World Championships last year. Well, no, I'm 5th coming out of the Europeans and the World. So I must just do that again. It all depends on the draw, really. If you get top 8, and you lose to get a spot in the semi-final, you'll have to box off for that last position. So that's my understanding of it. And then if I don't qualify in the Europeans, we'll have a World Championships, which will exclude the girls that are already after qualifying around the world. And I think it'll be top 3 or top 4 in that. So I'm not sure how that works, but there'll be less spaces in the other parts of the world, obviously.
There's very little clarity around qualification for boxing tournaments ever, so it's good to see there's not much difference here. Now, I just wanted to go back to your career as a Garda for a second before we wrap up, because Adam Nolan from Wexford represented Ireland in boxing at the London Olympic Games, and he's also a Garda. So I just wanted to ask, have you had any contact with him in terms of how he managed to strike the right balance? Because he obviously ended up booking his ticket. So have you spoken to Adam about the balance?
Yeah, absolutely. Adam has been a great support, and he's always there for me. He was there elite final night. It's great getting put in the same category as him. He's an outstanding athlete and has been a great role model throughout the years, and he's been top class. He'd always text or ring or give me good advice, and he's brilliant himself. And Niall Kennedy as well. He's a guard,
the heavyweight from Gorey.
Yeah, he's from Gorey. Yeah, sorry. So he's been top class, in fairness to him. So they're all great help, and it's just different that it's a girl doing it, I suppose. So it's great. Yeah, they're all very good, thank God.
But I guess it's nice that there's people who've gone before within the guards. So I guess there's an understanding. When you come and say, look, I'm aiming for the Olympics, I need some time off. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No, they understand completely. They know what it's like. So they took me serious after last year, I think. So that was a good year for me.
Good stuff. And just finally, Christina, I know you said you haven't had a day off since Christmas between boxing and work. But if you do have time outside of boxing and outside of work, what actually occupies your time? What do you do to relax?
Go out for food.
It's an important part of an athlete's life.
Yeah, it's not great for my weight now, and it won't be good in the next week when I'm regretting every bit of it. But I love going out for food with my family and friends, and just meeting with my family and friends. Really, I love being in contact with them, and we're all very close. So I'm lucky to have that support behind me. Good
stuff. Just on your weight, it's always an interesting subject for athletes who are involved in sports, that they have to cut weight. How do you find the weight cut in the lead up to tournaments? Is it a real challenge, or is it something that you've managed to kind of find a balance?
There's a balance there, yeah. I am sitting about 2.5 kilos over at the moment in the mornings, and the night before I'd be 0.8 or 0.7 of a kilo over, and I'd cut the last kilo the night before. I won't be doing it. I like to be sharp and at the weight the morning of the weigh-in and not before it. So there's a bit of thinking to do around it, and there's a bit of thought that goes into it. For the last week, it's not great. My mind wants all sorts of chocolate and all sorts that I'd never want, but that's just how the mind works, I think. So at the moment it's going well, and hopefully it'll all fit into place for the weekend and that I don't go too mad.
Okay, Christina, well, on that note, we will let you go. Thanks so much for joining us again, and the very best of luck at the Olympic Qualifiers in London, which get underway at the Copper Box Arena on March 14th.
No problem. Thanks very much for the call.
Thanks for listening to the Star Sport Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things sport in West Cork. Don't forget to pick up this Thursday's Southern Star newspaper, including our award-winning sports section with everything a West Cork sports fan could want. In shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world via www.thesouthernstar.ie/e-paper. The Southern Star and the Star Sport Podcast, #1 for sport in West Cork.
A motion calling for official recognition and support of the dual player concept was defeated at the LGFA Annual Congress over the weekend. The motion read, "The Ladies Gaelic Football Association recognises and supports the concept of a dual player as defined, and will encourage all of its units to support and facilitate its playing members of all ages who wish to do so to play both ladies football and camogie." This decision has been the subject of a lot of criticism over the past 48 hours, and I can see why. It seems to be completely self-defeating. In a minute we're going to hear from Cork dual star Libby Coppinger about the motion. But Kieran, first of all, what's your sense of why this was defeated?
I think the first off, Jack, it was a big shock to everyone that this was defeated, because I think there was a WGPA survey last week and 97% of the players kind of backed this motion. So to see it defeated, you could see social media over the weekend that a lot of players and I suppose even fans of ladies football and camogie were just very disappointed. It was like a kick in the teeth. Very, very disappointing to see this, even though the LGFA have come out to say that they've strongly rejected the suggestions that the association is against the dual player concept. LGFA President Marie Hickey, she was saying, people read it that we aren't going to work with camogie. There was excellent discussion on the day, and the majority of the discussion was on the wording of the motion and the definition of dual. Players play other sports outside of camogie and ladies football, and the word facilitate means that you have to make it happen, but it's not always possible. So what they were saying after, it was down to the wording of the motion rather than the motion itself. But still, for dual players like Libby Coppinger from St. Columb's and Hannah Looney, it's tough enough as it is, and it's to be a dual player at the highest level in Cork, because it's such a proud tradition with the likes of Bridge Corker and Rena Buckley in recent years. So it was disappointing, Jack, that it wasn't passed, because these players need to be supported, because it's one of the great skills of the game to be a dual player. Like, it's lost in the men's game. We don't have dual players, I don't think, at the top level anymore.
Very few and far between.
Very few, yeah. So kind of the ladies game has it with between the camogie and ladies football. So it is disappointing that this motion wasn't backed. Hopefully the wording, whatever wording was wrong with the wording, that can be changed and it can be put back in again to give it the green light. But I caught up with Libby Coppinger, one of Cork's two main dual players at the moment, just to get her thoughts of what happened at Congress last weekend. We're delighted to be joined on the line by Cork dual star Libby Coppinger. We want to chat about a couple of different issues with Libby this week, and I'm going to start with Congress. It was the Ladies Football Congress on Saturday, Libby, and one of the more interesting, I suppose, lines out of it was that the motion on dual players was defeated. And just watching social media and Twitter and so on the weekend, people seem to think this was a missed opportunity, that I suppose the role of a dual player wasn't backed. What were your own thoughts when you heard this news come true?
To be honest, I was very shocked. There was kind of, I didn't know much about it, but then there was a survey the day before for all the players, and it had come back, like, literally, I think it was like 97% of the players had agreed with it, and they thought it should be brought in, that, you know, they're going to work together. And then when it came out that they had rejected it, I was very surprised. It kind of just, you know, when all the players seemed to be back in, you couldn't really see what the issue would be. So it's just disappointing. It kind of seems like an opportunity missed, really, because, like, there has been steps taken. You know, in the past couple of years, they've rearranged matches. They're trying to avoid clashes, and it just seemed like it was the next step to take. So it's just weird. It's a weird one that they didn't take the opportunity when they had the chance. But you kind of just hope that it's not, you know, a closed door, and they're going to revisit it and do it in the near future.
Because the actual motion, I'll just go through the wording there, it was to add a new rule that the Ladies Gaelic Football Association recognises and supports the concept of a dual player as defined, and will encourage all of its units to support and facilitate its playing members of all ages who wish to do so to play both Ladies Gaelic football and camogie. And like, even her inter-county teammate and another dual player, Hannah Looney, she tweeted after to say, like, she was very disappointed for all dual players around the country and women in sport alike. And like you said, Libby, it just seems like a missed opportunity, because we all know how important dual players are in the game and how hard it is for dual players like yourself and Hannah. So, like, bringing a rule like this in could have made it that bit easier for you.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I was only thinking about it, like, people hear about the clashes with inter-county, like, you know, myself and Hannah have been involved in, and other players over the country, but it's hard for the club player who's trying to play dual as well. Mm-hmm. You know, like St. Columb's, we're a dual club for camogie and football, and, like, it's awkward for both managements to try and organise having, you know, the different teams, and, you know, the club, like, they really try and, you know, facilitate playing both and encourage it, and it seems like it would have made it easier and been a great step forward for everyone trying to play camogie and football around the country. But yeah, it's disappointing. Like, it's like, they're obviously not saying that they're against playing camogie and football, but it just seemed like they kind of missed the opportunity to make it official and make it, you know, really come under the one umbrella of supporting camogie and football, and, you know, getting that bit closer to making it a one organisation.
Especially here in Cork, I suppose, it's such a kind of proud tradition to go. Even just recently, the likes of Rena Buckley and Bridge Corkery have been, like, some of the best dual players ever to play the game, and there's such a rich tradition here in Cork. So it's like, you obviously feel that dual players are very important, and it's very important that you're given the platform to perform in both codes and the support from both codes too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as in, Cork has such a huge tradition, so that's made myself and Hannah's lives easier, because Bridge and Rena and everyone else paved the way for us. And, like, you know, it's not a question of, like, are you able to or not. Like, it's just like, this is what's going to happen, and they just make it work. Like, both managements have been very accommodating, and it's a weird one. I don't know why. Apparently it was down to the wording of it, but I don't really see the issue with it. It's kind of just basically saying that they were going to support each other and try and work as well together as they could. And like, it should be trying to encourage everyone from, you know, under 8 or whatever all the way up until you're finished playing and trying to get back into it. You know, like, everyone should be playing as long as they can and enjoying it, and just trying to make it easier for all the players involved, because that's what you want. But we'll see. Hopefully it's not the end of it, and they'll revisit it and maybe change the wording, and then it'll pass. But
because it's probably an impossible question for you to answer, Libby. Like, but if you had to choose between camogie Nady and football, like, you couldn't choose. Like, kind of, I know we've spoken about this before. Kind of, it's an impossible choice for you to pick one over the other.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as in, I grew up probably playing more football, and then once we got camogie going in St. Cullum's, it was just, you know, you loved it straight away. So yeah, it's a love of the both. Enjoy playing both. Enjoy, you know, luckily enough getting to play with Cork and getting to experience all of that. But like, getting to play with my club as well, it's just huge. And like, we're lucky we got the senior teams going again in Cullum's, and it's just, you know, giving the players around the place the opportunity to play camogie and football. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to choose, and I'm kind of hoping I won't have to. Like, it's not looking great just because it's getting more and more demanding in the inter-county scene, but you know, like, we're going to try and play both for as long as we can and enjoy it as much as we can. So yeah,
I suppose over the last couple of seasons with Paddy Murray and the Cork camogie team and Aoife with the Cork football team, I suppose the communication between them is kind of key to make it easier for yourself and Hannah to be able to kind of move fluidly between the two codes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've even noticed, I'm there like 4 and a bit years now, and like, it was kind of more of us leading the communication levels, trying to organise, you know, I'd talk to one and we'd talk to the other, but this year they've really taken it upon themselves, and they're just contacting each other and then just letting us know, so it's not us deciding what we're doing or where we're going or anything like that. They've talked to each other and they've organised a schedule, and we're just going wherever we're told, and you know, the decision's taken out of our hands, and that's really helped us you know, just try to focus on whatever team we're playing with at the time and get the most out of us.
Before I ask you about the Cork and Kilkenny camogie game on Sunday, another kind of, suppose, news line from Congress is that 2 points will be awarded for players who can kick a 45 from the ground. What do you make of that new rule coming in, Libby?
Do you know, like, as in, I think we should be encouraging people to try and improve that skill. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to do it, but if someone is able to master it, it's like a sideline in camogie. It's a huge skill, and you want to encourage people to, you know, keep improving it and try and master it. It'll be difficult now if at some stage you end up losing by a point because someone can put the ball over the bar from the 45. But no, I think we'll see how it gets on, but it seems like a good rule. I have no real issue with it. I'd say everyone around the country will be practicing their 45. But no, yeah, it's kind of, it's a different one, and it'll change the game a little bit. But I'm happy enough with it anyway.
Who's best placed in the Cork football panel to take advantage of it?
We'll probably give Saoirse Noonan a shot anyway. The Kylies love taking it, and you know, Terry actually as well, Anya Terry. I'd say we'll have a few who wouldn't mind chancing their arm at it anyway.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, we might be practicing it in training now.
It's another weapon in the arsenal heading into the summer. But we'll switch now to camogie for a second. You were on the Cork team. You had a 217-9 win over Kilkenny in Páirc Uí Rinn on Sunday. I suppose it was the Cork camogie team first game in a couple of weeks because you had a few postponements. Was it good just to get back out there and, I suppose, shake off the cobwebs after a few weeks of inactivity on the camogie field?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think we were all just so looking forward to a match because we've had the 2 cancellations, and we're sick of training almost. You know, you just wanted to get out, and it was the perfect match to be playing Kilkenny, who are an excellent side, and you know, on Páirc Uí Rinn as well to make it even better. So we were delighted. It was, you know, we kind of had a few nerves before just because he's only been training, and they've had the matches in between our last, like, we've had like a 5-week gap, I think. So yeah, it's great. It's great to get a match under the belt now, because I think we're 2 weeks on the trot now with Offaly and Clare, because we have to make up those matches. But it was a great win. It was great to get the game in, and loads of young players coming in and making their mark as well, which is great.
Paddy Murray was talking about that after. He was on about some of the young players, I suppose the Aoife O'Neill and Ciara McCarthy and Cliona Healy and even Ciara O'Sullivan from Newcestown came on as well. Like, he's kind of given young players a chance to kind of show what they can do. What's the dynamics like in the panel at the moment? Because some of the, I suppose, the more established older guards, maybe they aren't coming back, or some aren't back yet. So what's it like inside there at the moment, Libby?
Do you know what? There's a great buzz. Like, we've a few new fellas involved this year, just to kind of change it up a bit and give a fresh pair of eyes to it all, and their different takes on the whole thing, and different tips and everything like that. So it's good, and you know what, the younger players are really stepping up to the plate. Like, training's been excellent. Everyone's kind of pushing each other on, which is great, and it's great to see them. Like, Aoife O'Neill was playing cornerback now yesterday. Great to give her the start and just get that bit of confidence. Because there's nothing like you can do all the training in the world, but playing a match is just a different thing altogether. So it's been good. Like, we kind of don't really know a few people's stories, whether they're coming back or not. Would love to have everyone back, but it's great that the younger players are stepping up to the plate anyway.
From the match report that we got in for this Thursday Star, were you playing cornerback? Am I right?
Cornerback, is it?
Yeah, you were playing cornerback, Libby, were you?
Yeah.
And how's that going for you? Because even talking about the dual role there, kind of, sometimes with the football team, you can be up in the half forward and full forward line, and then with the camogie team, like you were in the full back line on Sunday. What's that like then, juggling going from the attack in one team to defence in the other?
It's a funny one to think that I'm very different positions in the two. But I suppose it's kind of been the whole way growing up. I would have always been more of a forward in football and more of a defender in camogie, which is a weird one. But like, again, you have to be almost able to do it all with the two now. It's not, when you're a forward, you're not just attacking. You have to make sure you're able to defend, and likewise when you're a defender, you have to make sure that you're able to go forward as well. But I think in a bit, it kind of helps me make sure I'm playing the right sport. When I'm up in the forward line in football, you really focus on that, and then it's like a completely roles reversed when you're a camogie defending then. But yeah, like, as in, it's grand. That's where I'm meant to be anyway. I'd be leaving all the shooting to the forwards anyway, so it's good I'm as far away from goal as I can be, I'd say. And
it was great to see another West Cork woman, Orla Cronin. She got 9 points against Kilkenny on Sunday. She seems to have started this season really well. I was talking to Paddy Murray a couple of weeks ago, and he expects Orla to kind of flourish this year. Have you seen signs of that she's kind of growing into one of the leaders on this Cork camogie team?
Yeah, definitely. Like, Orla's been involved now for I don't even know how long. Has so much experience and talent as well. So she's really leading the way. She's taking the frees at the minute and absolutely nailing them, and then just a huge talent from open play as well. So it's great, and she's such a playmaker. She really brings everyone into it as well. So yeah, she has a big year ahead of her. Right.
And switching to the football for a second, obviously you were with the Cork camogie team on Sunday, so you weren't with the Cork football team that went away to Donegal. What was your reaction when you heard the scoreline coming through from there, that Donegal had won 2-6 to 8 points? Because Cork were undefeated in their first 4 games and were top of the table. What were your thoughts when you heard the score coming through, Libby?
Yeah, like, it was actually right after the match. I met my parents and I got the result. And like, you don't want to say you were surprised, because Donegal are a great team, but we just had such a great start. So you're just a bit disappointed, all right, but at the same time, it's still the league and we're still learning. So, I'm sure we'll get the rundown and figure out, what went right and what went wrong at the weekend, and we're going to try and improve as much as we can for the next game and try and, take all the positives and negatives. I haven't really got the lowdown yet, but like I said, Donegal were a great side, and it's always hard to travel up. Like, they went up the night before, but it's a long journey. But yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board again, and like, we have had a great start, so we'll just try and push on again now. We've Galway and Waterford left, so it's not over yet anyway.
What's your plan the next couple of weeks? So, like you said, it's Offaly this weekend for Cork Camogie. Then the following weekend, both Camogie and football teams are out. So, what's your diary looking like the next couple of weeks, Libby?
Yeah, so Offaly now at the weekend, so kind of just a bit of training this week. The footballers are off because of the O'Connor Cup, and then to be honest, I don't even know what day of the week, where like Saturday or Sunday, Camogie and football are on the following weekend. But they're both kind of must-win matches nearly. Like we obviously want to beat Offaly and Clare and Camogie if we can, and like Galway's going to be a big test in football as well. So kind of just keep training away, keep preparing as best we can, and just let the management sort out where we're going and everything like that, and just try and do the training, and that's all we can worry about.
And keep flying that dual flag for all the I suppose the up and coming Cork players, because like you said earlier, it's great for the young local girls coming up to see the likes of yourself and Hannah Looney that you can play both codes, because it's almost an inspiration for them, like Bridge and Rena were for yourself and Hannah. So it's so important that you can, I suppose, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you'd love to think you're inspiring, the younger girls to play and keep playing. Like, you even find a couple of younger girls saying they find it hard or whatever. But you just have to say, like, if you're enjoying it, keep playing it, keep, training and working on it. And, like, it is possible. Like, obviously it's difficult in some situations, but you kind of just have to get on with it, not think too much about it. But yeah, I'm hoping that the dual tradition will stay going for as long as it can anyway.
Fantastic. Libby, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate your time.
No bother. Thanks a million.
Great stuff from Libby there. So hopefully that can be all sorted out next time round. But Kieran, we're just going to wrap up this week's podcast with our regular slot of previewing what's to come in this week's Southern Star. And I was just admiring some of your handiwork in the hallway there. Some good stuff. In particular, a list where you've ranked the top 10 female sports stars from West Cork. Yeah, as we all know, International Women's Day last Sunday. So this was in recognition of the talent that we have here in West Cork. I've ranked from 10 down to 1. What I think is the top 10. I'll criticise the list off air, but not on air. The top 10 West Cork sportswomen. It was so hard, given the depth of talent in West Cork, to actually leave some of the local sports people off. It was quite hard. When you actually do see the list, you're like, wow, there's some incredible sportswomen here in West Cork. So that's in this Thursday Southern Star. Plenty of match reports. The Under-21 championships locally were in action over the weekend. O'Donovan Rossa were dethroned by Clonakilty. We have a 2-page West Cork Rally Motorsport preview, interview with Christina Desmond ahead of her qualifiers this week. Reaction from the Cork Under-20s lost to Munster final the weekend week previous to Kerry. So we've a lot going on in this Thursday Southern Star. It's 24 packed pages. It's dripping off the pages. The pages are creaking at the moment. It's a good sign that the sports season is getting up and running. So hopefully the sports season will continue as it has done for the last week or so. Again, and this damn virus goes away. It can leave the West Cork sports scene alone. So yeah, plenty in Thursday Southern Star. So get to the shops Thursday morning, pick up a copy, because it is supreme value. And maybe pick up loads of copies, because as you know, while you're stocking up on toilet paper, when you're getting loads of toilet paper, hand sanitizers, you might as well get an extra couple of stars, because if you're not to use the star for the same purposes. But if you're on lockdown with your entire family because of the coronavirus, wouldn't it be nice if everyone could have their own star to read, and you wouldn't have to share it around? Go to different corners of the house and just read the star, kind of. And also, because the transmission of infection can probably come by. So what we're encouraging is more Southern Stars per household. Yeah, to stop. So that means you don't have to share, so it stops the spread of infection. And also, if you're all in the house at the same time, everyone will have their own copy. And everybody can read the sports section, so there's nobody disappointed. It's a win-win for everyone. Again, so thank you for listening to this week's Star Sport podcast. We'll be back at the same time next week. So if you enjoy these shows, please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Acast, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to the show. Within 20 minutes.